All right, everybody, welcome to another interview on The Girl Who Talks Sports. We are joined today by Andy Hopper of the Brew Party. Do you like Andy or Andrew?
Andy works, Andrew works, whatever. My family calls me Andrew. Friends call me Andy, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Why don't you, you could do a little plug, let the people know what the podcast is about and stuff.
Sure. So like she said, I'm the host of the Brew Party podcast. So we'll get that going. So yeah, my name's Andy. I'm 25. I'm based out of Illinois. So I live in Champaign. So that's where the University of Illinois is. I'm a big Illini fan. I'm a big Bears fan. So my podcast, like I said, it's the Brew Party. It's named after my dog. My dog is named Brew. And my friends and I are pretty dumb. So we used to yell Brew and then ha back at each other. And I blacked out and I got a dog one night and his name is Brew. But anyway, so yeah, I started the podcast about 8 months ago. We talk everything sports, life. Every week we do gambling picks with my friend Ryan, we do interviews, hot takes. I talk about being a dad. My son is about to be 9 months old here at the start of November.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, which is crazy and shouldn't be a thing. But anyway, you can find me on all my social media at the Brew Party Podcast on Facebook, and then Twitter and Instagram is at the Brew Party as well. We're on YouTube, trying to build up the YouTube page a little bit. Find us there, the Brew Party as well. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we're there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio. We're on Pandora now. It took 8 months, but we got onto Pandora. But yeah, it's just really chill. We do live streams, usually Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. We've talked to just a bunch of different kind of people, athletes, a couple of basketball players that play over in Europe. Trey Demps, his dad is actually Dell Demps, former GM of the New Orleans Pelicans.
That's cool.
One of the key people in the Anthony Davis move over to the Lakers. We talked to Alex Ola, basketball player for the Romanian national team. I've actually talked to Alex Menard, who was on The Amazing Race and Naked and Afraid, actually on Naked and Afraid twice. Absolutely insane. I've talked to a Spotify artist with over 500,000 streams on Spotify that does rap. Actually, it does my intro and outro music for me. Football players, I talked to Bobby Roundtree, former University of Illinois defensive end that actually had a pretty terrible spine injury that kind of ended his football career. He came on, was really inspiring, told me his whole story and his football career, which is awesome. But yeah, we shoot the shit, we drink beer, we have a good time. Every Thursday, I'm joined by my buddy Ryan Maloney for Maloney's Money Line. That is just our weekly gambling segment. We make our picks. This week was fucking horrible. I finished 3-5, but last week I was 7-1. So the ups and downs of gambling, but it was a very rough NFL Sunday.
Yeah, and we have a ton to get into, but actually I did want to ask you real quick before we got started. I love those videos of your dog choosing.
Yes.
Oh my God. Amazing. I love it so much.
Right. So my dog Brew, like I mentioned him earlier, so I have him pick the primetime game every week. I started 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I put a treat on each side, on the left or the right, and I open up the video. Hopefully he'll wait long enough to get it so I can explain what's going on. But so he's actually 8-3. He picks against the spread. I've faded him a couple times, which I will never do again. I have to trust him now. So look out tonight for his Monday night pick. But yeah, he's 8-3. I'll either put 2 treats, one on the left or the right, kind of explain it and tell him to go get it. Like last night, the left was the Raiders and the right was the Chiefs, or his left was the Chiefs, his right was the Raiders. They cover the spread. So I don't want to say he's a better gambler than me, but my dog is a better gambler than me. Yes, for sure.
It seems like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is the reason why I reached out to you was because I thought at first you were a Saints fan.
Yeah, I apologize.
No worries. But so I was like, okay, obviously he's got some thoughts about the quarterback situation in New Orleans. Obviously, unfortunately, Drew Brees has 11 broken ribs now and a collapsed lung. Absolutely horrible. But obviously they had to have a backup for him. And at first I thought that it was going to be Jameis Winston, but Sean Payton came out here and named Taysom Hill as the starter. And despite the win, I thought that you were kind of leaning more towards Jameis as well. So what was your thoughts in terms of why did you want them to start Jameis? And then have your thoughts changed a little now that they won with Taysom?
First of all, I wanted them to start Jameis Winston because Jameis Winston is appointment television on the NFL. Anytime you can watch him throw the ball all around the field,
Yeah.
It is a fun Sunday. You know, I don't know. I just felt like he deserved it. We're talking about a guy who threw for over 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns last season, Sam.
Yeah.
I mean, you point to the 30 interceptions as well, which is not great. But look at this guy's body of work. Like, if I have his career stats pulled up here, he's played in 74 games, 61.4% completion percentage. That's not great, but he's thrown for almost 20,000 yards, 7.7 yards per throw, 121 touchdowns. The 88 interceptions aren't great, but you're going to tell me this guy that's played, 6 years now in the NFL is not a better option for you than your fourth string tight end? And, they get the win. Credit to Taysom Hill, 24-9. They could have scored more than 24 points. They had a couple penalties. I wasn't super impressed with Taysom Hill through the air, but you have to point to the 10 rushes for 51 yards and 2 scores. Whenever you have a quarterback that can move like he can, that's a weapon. Sean Payton actually did come out and say, kind of after the game, he said, well, if we kind of knew this coming in. He goes, if we had like a week to prepare, it would be Taysom, where we could see what we had, kind of plug him in practice. Right. But if it was a big game, it was going to be Jameis. And I thought that was really interesting to me. Just so how much faith do you actually have in Jameis? What are you bringing him in for if there's no plan for him to play in games like these? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They get the win, and Taysom Hill threw for 233 yards. So he proved that he can play quarterback in this league, but it was just wild to me. Before this game, Taysom Hill had 17 career pass attempts. 17.
That's not a lot.
No. Like Jake Luton, that's playing for the Jaguars, that played 3 games going into this week, had 55 more than Taysom Hill. Like, just absolutely insane. So I don't know what your thoughts were about it, but I wanted to see me some Jameis on this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, with Jameis Winston, like, we saw that he struggled a bit, I think, with his eyesight, which might have something to do with all of those interceptions.
He got LASIK, though. It's supposed to be fixed.
Yeah, so he got LASIK surgery. Maybe it was the whole eyesight thing. I mean, I know, like, I have my contacts in, but I'm, like, almost legally blind. I totally feel healthy.
Dude, if you could see how thick these glasses are,
my glasses are, like, Coke bottles. But no, I genuinely thought, like, okay, I think they'll still use Taysom the way they've been using him. The trick plays where they switch them out. I really expected that to happen. I think I even said on my podcast last week, I was like, oh yeah, Jameis is starting. Like, no, even we didn't even delve into it.
I did. I said the same thing because I took the Atlanta and New Orleans over because I'm like, James is playing. He's going to be throwing the ball around the field. There's going to be points. And of course, it goes under. But this also just came to me like this might have something to do with it. Taysom being in that New Orleans system for as long as he has been, rather than Jameis just joining this year. They might be more confident that he knows what's going on offense. And then I guess you point to, well, he's playing multiple positions, so he's going to know what the tight ends are supposed to do. He's lined up in the backfield. So I get the move. I'm just more of a Jameis guy than a Taysom guy.
Yeah. I think also another benefit of, on the opposite side, to have Taysom there, he's more, I guess, used to getting hit. So you could even tell there were times where, like, he was getting dragged to the ground when he was rushing and everything like that. And he just got up immediately. And you can tell, obviously Drew Brees is getting older now. His time in the NFL is definitely coming to a close sooner than later. Right. So I think that having someone that's used to getting pushed down and is always, like, in the mix with all these guys. And he's a big guy, too. So it's not like it's easy for you to take him down. So I think that was a plus. But also I was like, he treated this almost like those trick plays that he's always in. Like, he took it as a tight end. He didn't start as a quarterback, in my opinion. He started as a tight end in a quarterback position. Because, again, I think as the game went on, though, his pocket presence improved a bit, but you could, like, he took off all the time and he just kept taking it. And you do need those times with a quarterback to throw the ball. And that's obviously that's the job of a quarterback. So, and do you think that they might, obviously, like I said, Drew Brees going to stop playing football sooner than later. Right. Do you think that they're going to choose Taysom? to replace him, or do you think that they're gonna like actually look for someone or start Jameis? Like I don't even know at this point.
I think if this week is any indication that Jameis Winston is not a long-term option
Yeah.
for the New Orleans Saints, which sucks. You know, you want to see him do well. It's a former number 1 overall pick. And I don't think Taysom Hill was even drafted. Was he an undrafted guy?
I
I
think
don't know.
so.
There was just questions even last year when you had Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. Obviously, Teddy comes in, wins all 5 games that he
Yeah.
started.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think Teddy might be a little bit of a better quarterback than Jameis Winston. But I don't know. I could definitely see them going with Taysom Hill. I know Sean Payton obviously really likes him. And if he thinks he's got a week to prepare for each team, that's going to be enough. I was kind of interested, 10 rushes for 51 yards. Will they try to keep him in the pocket a little bit more? Like Drew Brees is on IR until week 14 at the earliest.
I don't think he's coming back that
So now
fast.
right. So now you're looking at Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston are your only 2 options. So if you want Taysom back there, great. How much are you going to let him run around and risk getting hurt, risk taking those big hits? Like you just mentioned that he seems to be used to taking, but you can only get hit. This is a grown man's league. You can only get hit by some of these NFL guys so many times before you get a stinger.
Yeah, no, it's a weird situation. Obviously not something that a lot of us are used to seeing with Taysom as I think he's labeled on their roster as a quarterback.
Tight end, quarterback, something like that. Because on fantasy, you can start him at tight end. And I had multiple people and I'm in 3 different leagues, and I think in every different league he was started as a tight end, not a quarterback this weekend.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work in terms of points?
I don't know. It's cheating, and if I was playing him, I would call foul for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that works like that.
He still gets all the points from the quarterback, but he's technically, since he's like New Orleans' like 4th string tight end, he can still be listed there, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but I mean, they ended up getting this win over a division team, which was really good, putting them at the number 1 seed. I mean, the Saints are looking good so far. The Buccaneers play tonight. I don't know, what's going to happen with them. They're playing the Rams, right? I think.
The Rams. So it's Rams Buccaneers. The thing with Monday night is Tom Brady has been on primetime a few times already this year, has looked awful.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are really good against the pass, and they're really good against the rush. I think this is going to be a defensive battle here, and let's not act like Tampa Bay's defense is anything bad either. I need to mention them. Plus, the Rams are without Andrew Whitworth on the offensive line. I'll be curious to see how that affects it. The Tampa Bay comes in as favorites. I'm not sold. I kind of like the Rams in this game.
No, I mean, they beat the Seahawks, which I think is a big win for them.
Mm-hmm.
So I sometimes write the Rams off, mostly just because I don't think Jared Goff is that good of a quarterback. But it seems like every once in a while they can pull out a win that everybody has kind of written them off like, no, it's going to be, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, they're going to win. But no, I think it actually might be a pretty interesting game in terms of prime time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so just to close off with like the Saints and stuff, do you think that after this year, Jameis is going to go somewhere else?
I think so. I'm not 100% positive what like his contract details are. I believe it was just a 1-year deal. I think he looks for somewhere that he can go and play next year. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think he's handled this situation very well. You haven't seen him coming out and complaining or any leaks in the media on the sideline. He's encouraging his teammates. We saw him after Taysom Hill scored a touchdown. He was one of the first guys to go up there and congratulate him. So, I mean, he's a guy that I'm going to root for, but somebody I see in a different uniform next year for sure. I don't think he's back in New Orleans unless Sean Payton is just fucking with the rest of the NFL and trying to play mind games here. So I don't know.
We still have some weeks to go. So, and again, I don't see Drew Brees coming back anytime soon. I don't even know if they make it to the playoffs, if he's even going to be around for that. So it'll be an interesting rest of the season for the Saints. Now, the next thing here, you mentioned Teddy Bridgewater. I do want to talk about, since you are a Bears fan, the NFC North. And the Panthers played the Lions yesterday. The Lions scored 0 points, just absolutely no points. And it was disastrous. I saw a play where they snapped the ball the ball hit the ground. Matt Stafford's like jumbling around. It was atrocious. Like, I don't even think that the Lions are even, I mean, despite them being at the same record with the Vikings right now, I don't think that they're at the same level of play.
No, not at all. There's just questions on this defense. I mean, not even this week. So it's 20-0. They get beat by XFL legend PJ Walker. It's not even Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
And then you point to last week against the football team. They're up 24-3. It takes a ridiculous almost 60-yard field goal from Matt Prater to win the game as time expires by 3. They let the football team come all the way back in. Is it the defense that's the problem, or is it Matt Stafford and the offense? You know, DeAndre Swift was out for this game. They finally decided to commit to him as their starting running back after spending one of their top picks on him in the draft and waiting to be like, oh, well, maybe we actually do have something with this guy. If you draft him that high, just play him. You obviously thought he had something going into the season. But I don't know what the problem for the Lions is. Is it the defense? Is it Matt Patricia's not a good head coach? Is it he's a defensive coordinator that, you know, sometimes those guys, you know, you talk about how good his Patriots teams were, how good his defenses were there. The shine on those Belichick assistants, you have one, your Giants, Joe Judge, is now the head coach. You know, sometimes they don't always work out. I think Joe Judge has an opportunity to be a very good head coach in this league. Matt Patricia, maybe he's just a defensive coordinator, you know, and that's not too bad. If you can find a good defensive coordinator, you're going to make a lot of money in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think that Matt Patricia's strength is just focusing on the defense. I mean, we have not seen the Lions do anything well since he became a head coach. So I agree with you. I definitely don't think that Matt Patricia is the best for this. But, yeah, I mean, the Panthers looked good even without their star running back, Christian McCaffrey. And like you said, XFL superstar. The man is undefeated, 5-0 with the Houston Rednecks. I thought that the fact that they kept talking about that was hilarious. They were like, oh, yeah, and did we mention he's from the XFL? And I'm like, yeah, we get it. The man came from another football league. I get it. And also, obviously, you know, the XFL only ended basically because of COVID.
Right.
So
he could still be in Houston if it wasn't for all that. And, you know, good for him. 24 for 34, 258 yards, scores a touchdown. He did throw 2 interceptions, which also were in the end zone. So fun stat for you Lions fans that might be listening to this. Your cornerbacks had more receptions in the end zone than your receivers did yesterday. So that's just it. Because, you know, the Carolina Panthers don't jump off the page at me.
No.
Either, you know, they're a good defensive team. I really like Joe Brady, their young offensive coordinator. Then obviously Matt Rule, their first-year head coach.
Yeah.
They haven't had McCaffrey really all year, but Mike Davis has stepped in. You know, you're 19 carries for 64 yards and a touchdown. That's not a lot, but if you could I would take 64, 70 yards from my Bears running back every week. If like, you know, what they're doing is serviceable. Obviously, it was enough to beat Detroit. Was this a game for Detroit where they were just like, oh, well, look ahead game? You know, we've got this, a trap game, as you like to call it. But if you look at the Lions' schedule for the rest of the year, Texans, Bears, Packers, Titans, Buccaneers, Vikings. Find me a win. Do they beat the Texans? Okay, I could see them beating the Bears now that I say that. But they could lose out. And at this point, why not? Just tank for that draft pick. 4 wins.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you take a quarterback. I think you let Matt Stafford have at least one more year. But I don't know. It doesn't look good in Detroit, but when has it ever look good for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, no, they've definitely never really been on my radar. Like every once in a while, you know, there's that one team where you're like, oh wow, like they're doing pretty good. I didn't think that they were going to do this good, but I feel like I've never had that thought about the Detroit Lions before. And yeah, I'm not seeing anything good, but they could beat the Texans, but the Texans are like this weird roller coaster. Like they just beat the Patriots, even though the Patriots really aren't that good anymore. But I feel like the Texans are like, just like an entity. They could be doing anything at this point, especially, you know, changing of the head coach. Maybe they're just trying to figure stuff out. I don't know, but the Texans are weird. at this
Well,
point.
you look at Deshaun Watson's their quarterback. He can beat anybody. He can
Yeah.
absolutely beat anybody. When you have a guy like Deshaun Watson and you have weapons like Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks, that's enough to clip some people. It's not going to be enough to be maybe a great team, but they're going to surprise some people. I could definitely see them taking down the Lions. I had picked the Patriots to win that game last weekend, but I guess I'm not really shocked seeing as how the Patriots have had really a down year for them as well.
Yeah, not good. Not good. But so obviously, like you said, the Lions playing the Vikings in that last game of the season, and the Vikings in a tragic loss to the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. And personally, I was rooting for the Vikings because I did not want the Cowboys to win.
Yeah.
Which was just awful. But first of all, I just want to go out on the record. The Cowboys, because of this, they're not good. They're not good. Even though they won this game, I don't think that they're like. I feel like that the Cowboys fans are like coming out right now and they're like, yeah, we're back in this game. And I'm like, no, like you have to take it easy.
Have you ever talked to a Cowboy fan before? I'm a bartender, and when the season started, I was at my bar. I was serving a table, and I overheard there was a Cowboys game on. It was earlier in the year. They ended up losing the game, of course. But I have a table, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I think it's going to be the Chiefs and the Cowboys in the Super Bowl this year." And as soon as I heard that, I just started dying laughing. It's like how. I'm a delusional sports fan. Like, I definitely think my team is a lot better than they actually are. Yeah. Well, actually not this year with the Bears, but I've been there, but I'm like, just come on, dude. Your defense is not good. Dak Prescott has to throw for 500 yards a game for you to even be in it. I mean, now he's out, but no, there's no chance. This was only their second win against the spread this year. And of course, when I bet on Minnesota, I had Minnesota -7. So I think it really proves to me that their defense, Minnesota's defense, is not great. I wasn't sold on them before that, but then you saw them do what they did to the Bears offense on Monday night. And this game has me thinking, like, the Cowboys can put up 31 on this Minnesota Vikings defense and the Bears can't. So really, it kind of opened my eyes. Like, good for Andy Dalton coming off the COVID list and having a good game. And it's not like the Vikings offense was bad, because I don't think that's true. You saw Thielen make that insane one-handed catch in the back.
Amazing.
And then, Dalvin Cook was doing Dalvin Cook things, but good for the Cowboys, I guess. I definitely wanted Minnesota to win. Didn't see this coming. I don't know how that bodes for the Cowboys the rest of the year. Definitely doesn't bode well for the Vikings the rest of the year, who are kind of in a need to win as many games as possible situation here. But it was interesting. And I did not see the NFC North going over this week for sure.
Yeah, that's everybody in the NFC. Obviously, Bears being on a bye, everybody lost this week, which is crazy because obviously the Packers, I was not expecting this from the Packers whatsoever. And to be honest, throughout the entire game yesterday, I was glancing at Aaron Rodgers and I was like, this man does not look good. Like he just, like, he was sitting on the sidelines. He was sitting by himself. He kind of was just like, whatever. And I was like, he doesn't seem like he's in the game. And while they performed well, obviously, and making it into overtime, then there was that awful drop by Valdez-Scantling, which basically cost them the overtime, because the NFL overtime rules just suck so bad that they, it's basically whoever gets the ball and gets it down the field to just score a field goal is going to win. So the fact that they dropped that ball, that offense wasn't looking good. The Packers defense is just not good at all. I've tried to find a shining light in the Packers defense because I like rooting for the Packers. Nothing was there. And losing to the Colts are good though. And people I think that's another team that people have written off this year. Nobody's really talking about the Colts that much, but Phillip Rivers has really brought something to this offense that is spectacular. I mean, what were you thinking about this game? I mean, also in terms of like betting purposes, did you bet on the Packers?
All right, the Packers money line. Unfortunately, it was a very rough Sunday for me, Sam.
God,
like, honestly,
so
this was my least favorite Sunday of the season so far, and it's solely like it started with the Burrow incident, which we're going to get into in a little bit, I'm sure. So I won't get into that now. But that's, as soon as that happened, my whole Sunday was ruined. I was just like, because I had Cincinnati as well. I love them as dogs.
Oh my
But we'll get into it later. But as far as this game goes, I was curious. So, like, the line opened, Indiana was favored by 1.5. So essentially, that's a pick'em game. There's not a lot of games in the NFL that end at 1-point games. Like, obviously, it happens, but it's more logical to think it'll be a field goal or a touchdown type game, which it ended up being a field goal game. But I'm not sold on the Packers defense. Like you said, Aaron Rodgers is amazing, and if they have Devontae Adams, and we've seen what Aaron Jones has been able to do when he's right, their offense is downright scary. But the defense, they can't stop anybody. It doesn't matter if you can't stop anybody. They have some guys on defense, like Za'Darius Smith is pretty good. A couple guys in their secondary, like Savage, former Bear Adrian Amos is pretty decent back there. But as a whole, like, that unit, they're very beatable. The Packers are 7-3 this year, but they have beat one team with a record of over 500. So it's not like they're world beaters here. I'm very curious to see what the trajectory is of this team the rest of the year. So they have the Bears on Sunday night next week. God help us all. So I think they win the North pretty easily.
Yeah.
But I don't see them going super far in the playoffs. I think the NFC is wide open as far as the playoffs go. They're gonna have to play a team like the Saints. They're gonna have to play a team potentially like Tampa Bay, who we saw what they did to them earlier in the year. If they have to run into the Rams, I don't like what the Rams defense may do to this offense. I don't know. I'm saying this as a Bears fan, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
My hatred for the Packers, but I did bet on them this weekend, so I was rude. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're a good team. I think this division is theirs to lose for sure. They're the best team in the North. Defense leaves something to be desired, but when you have Aaron Rodgers and he's able to throw to a guy like Devontae Adams, they're going to win some football games for sure. So NFC North division winners, Super Bowl, I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, I made like super early Super Bowl predictions, but like way before the season even started, and I said that the Packers were making it to the Super Bowl this year. I was like throwing it out there. Anybody that would listen, I was like, the Packers are going, and now I'm like, oh no, I made a mistake. But I mean, the thing is that the defense, like we said, not great. The offense is what's winning these games. The fact that Aaron Rodgers can put up basically more points than their opposing team. Like, that's basically what's going on here, is that Aaron Rodgers can do these amazing things. But we saw them lose to the Vikings, which is impeccable. And that also came down to like the last second thing where they came out, sacked Aaron Rodgers, he was going to throw a Hail Mary, and it was going to be like one of Aaron Rodgers' main Hail Marys that wins the game.
Right.
And yet we saw the Vikings defense come out and sack him, and they ended up winning that game. And I was like, this is not something that I was expecting at all.
You never see that. He never takes those sacks. He always somehow at the last second he'll get the ball off or throw it. And I was just about to say, and he doesn't take sacks in general. It's not even in this in those last plays. Like on Sunday, he did have one sack for 10 yards. But, I mean, the Colts defense is really good. You talk about guys like Darius Leonard. You talk about guys like DeForest Buckner, Justin Houston. They have dudes on that defense. So you got to credit Indy's defense. You do give up 34 points. But, they picked Rodgers off once. They forced the fumble. I guess they didn't really force the fumble. It was more of a drop by Valdez-Scantling. Yeah. But either way, credit to that defense. They helped that team get the victory. And, of course, Rex Bex, Rodrigo Blankenship for hitting that game winner.
Oh my God. Like, he is just a character, that guy, with his glasses and everything. Amazing.
I saw a picture today of it was him running off the field on Sunday next to a picture of DK Metcalf shirtless. And it's like, I love the NFL. These two men play the same professional sport.
It's so true, though. Yeah. Like, literally, every time he comes out, I'm like, oh, there he is. You can't miss him because he's got these giant goggles on that I had in, like, the 3rd grade when I played soccer. Like, the exact same glasses. I'm like, What? Like, put on some contact lenses. Are you serious? How old are you?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man.
Yeah.
Two of my former roommates are diehard Georgia fans, so
Yeah.
I've had a heavy dose of Blankenship from watching Georgia games with them over the last 4 years. But yeah, I don't know. I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If he likes the glasses, go with them.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a picture of him like not in a football uniform or a football helmet. So
Yeah, I don't know.
those can't be his regular glasses. Like, let's hope he
No.
wears contacts like out
No.
on the street, but whatever, man. I
Well,
get it.
they're definitely his sports glasses,
Uh,
but it's just hilarious that, you know, you usually see those on like little kids running around playing pee-wee football or something like that, and he's out here, you know, winning games against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But yeah, that was a pretty insane game. Not at all what I was expecting. And with your Bears, they're playing next week. At this point, they have not named a starter for the quarterback position yet, right?
No starters named. I want it to be Mitch. I'd like Mitch
Really?
back. I think with this offensive line, you have to have a guy that's mobile. That this offensive line can't block anybody. If there's no pass rush, at least have a guy that can move on his feet, get out of the pocket, and throw it well. It's the only game that Nick Foles has looked good was when he came in the third game of the season in the second half. Since then, it's just been not great. And I don't attribute that all to Foles. I think the line has a lot to do with it. If you have no time to throw, and you, like we saw on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago, Brian Griese said he was talking to Foles, and he said sometimes Nagy will call in plays, and he knows when the play comes in, he's not going to have enough time to get it off. Like, can you imagine what that does to your confidence? I think his confidence has to be at an all-time low. He doesn't think he's going to have any time to throw. We've seen him miss throws terribly, and that's not all on the offensive line. Like, there have been a lot of times where Mooney has been wide open down the field where he could have walked in the end zone, and you see the ball go over here or go over there. It's just like, I don't know. You know, he found something in Philly when he won that Super Bowl MVP, and he reunites with Nagy. You know, he's worked with him before, thinking, hey, maybe this could work. And I don't think it's all on Nagy either. I think this has to do with Ryan Pace, the GM of the Bears, just not having any depth on this team at all. Like, it's just got to be better. Like, just clean house, fire everybody, start over. But it's just frustrating because, you know, they start 5-1. See everybody like, oh, they're not that good. And of course I'm like, well, I'm not going to apologize for being 5-1.
Right.
And then did I see a 4-game losing streak coming? No. Did I see them staying as a 1-loss team the whole year? No. Yeah. So it's just kind of like finding that balance. It's just like, because this is a Super Bowl defense, like it or not, this is a Super Bowl defense. They're only allowing like 17 points a game. But our offense is averaging like 16, I think. It's just,
oh, my God.
It's just ridiculous. Like, look at the second half of the Vikings game on Monday night. In the third quarter, they had -2 yards of total offense. Like, you can't win football games with that. I don't care how good your defense is. You have to go into every week just hoping, like, man, I hope we get a scoop and score or a pick six or something.
No, your defense is insane.
But I was talking to my buddy about it last night, and it's like, because none of this stuff on the offensive side of the ball is fixable right now, because you have quarterback issues, which you're not going to find a quarterback in the middle of the year like this. Like, they worked out Deshaun Kaiser this week. That's not going to work. They have Tyler Bray on the roster, who's been on the team for 8 years. But been exclusively on the practice squad. Like, when he had to come in for Foles on Monday night, like, he had thrown like 4 career passes, maybe.
Oh my God.
There's not a lot to work with. Go back to Mitch. I know as soon as Foles came in, I was on the Foles train. Like, this is our guy. You know, Mitch hasn't, you know, we've saw Mitch's body work. It hasn't been great. But at this point, like, it can't be worse than what we're getting from Foles right now. It just sucks that, like, that's the narrative. You know, it's like the Bears have, since like Jim Kelly, we've had like 2 all-pro quarterbacks, and like he's not Jim Kelly. I'm sorry, Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon is who I meant. The 85. He was the quarterback of the 85 Bears. That's a long fucking time ago. We've had all-pro quarterbacks, him and Mitchell Trubisky in 2018. So there just needs to be some type of consistency there in the draft. We need to get a quarterback, and we need to get guys that can protect him. So if I'm the GM, I'm taking a quarterback in the first round. I'm taking a guard and a tackle, the next two. And then in free agency, I'm throwing my money at the top offensive line free agent and just trying to build this offensive line back from top to bottom because the weapons are there.
Mm-hmm.
Allen Robinson is a legit number one receiver. Remains to be seen if he'll be on this roster next year, as they have failed to sign him to an extension. Right. But I mean, Darnell Mooney is a guy they got in the 5th round that I really, really like. Anthony Miller is fast. He can't really catch. Mm-hmm. But, you know, David Montgomery has something you like in the backfield to have Tariq Cohen back next year. There's pieces to work with here. It's just Nagy is not good. His play calling is not great. You know, he comes in from Kansas City and he wants to run the Kansas City offense. Newsflash, Matt. You don't have the athletes here in Chicago. It's not the same team.
Right.
So it's just, you know, and this happens in football a lot where you see coaches get so stubborn. It's like, I've had success with this before. This is what works. This is what we're going to keep doing. And it's just the stubbornness. It's just no adjustments are made. I actually do think they could commit to the run more. We saw in the first half, Cordell Patterson was running the ball really well. He ends the game with 12 rushing attempts. So if you want to use him in the backfield, Nagy, use him. Commit to it. Maybe not on 4th and 3, pitching the ball 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but on 1st and 2nd down, by all means, let's run the ball. So my thoughts is just one of the most frustrating teams in the world ever to watch. And I know as a Giants fan, you can probably attribute that as well, but I mean, you guys look really good as of right now. So
yeah, I mean, our division sucks. So it's, you know, we're excited because we look good in our division,
right?
But we're only half a game away from first place, and the only thing that's surviving, the Eagles are only surviving in first place because of their tie against the Bengals. So,
oh my God.
I mean, yeah, like our division is trash, and whoever makes it to the playoffs is not going to go far. But if it's the Giants, I'm going to be like, you know what? I'll take that as a win. Like making it to the playoffs. Why not? You know,
with this team you have right now, yeah, you take that for sure. And it does suck, you know. You talk about the winner of the NFC least is going to be taking a playoff spot from a team that probably is going to have a better record than them,
right?
And they're going to get to host a playoff game, which is
right.
And why you love the NFL. But good luck to the Giants. I'd rather see you guys than anybody else. My good buddy Tom Scavetta, you know, host of Big Blue Avenue that you were just on. And Hank, they crack me up. They do great stuff. So made me a little bit of closet Giants fan here. I'll definitely root for the Big Blue when you guys aren't playing the Bears.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Bears, you mentioned Cordell Patterson, who is an amazing punt returner. Like they saw him do some really great things, like you were saying. Put him in the backfield. He can obviously run. He can obviously weave through guys and make it down the field. You know, if you got it, use it. You know,
right? But we've seen him. Like Matt Nagy has really liked to use him. He's taken Montgomery out of the backfield in games when Montgomery's been healthy to put Patterson in like big situations where we need it. And with Montgomery out in concussion protocol, we're like, okay, I guess Patterson's are back. And we bring up Lamar Miller from the practice squad, which is really who I should be talking about. You have a guy like Lamar Miller. I know he's coming off an ACL injury and he hasn't been on the team for the full year, but he was a number one running back as early as 1 or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not seeing what we have here, seeing if he's still got it? I would have liked to see him get more touches, and maybe we do as the season goes on. But the question is not defensively here. The question is, what can they do offensively? Can they score points? Because the defense will stop you if they need to stop you, when they need to get a stop. If they have something to play for, they're going to play for it. But this almost gets to the point where if the offense is so bad and it takes long enough to kind of figure that out, is the defense, are they all going to be old and like past their prime and not good enough anymore when the offense catches up?
Yeah.
Would you trade your defensive pieces and just like tear it down and rebuild? Like, there's a lot of questions in Chicago here that I think people aren't really talking about, but that's enough of me rambling about my awful football team.
Well, yeah, I mean, but there's some crazy things going on over there. And plus, technically, both of your quarterback options are just healthy. I don't even know if Nick Foles is healthy to play.
He's like day
So
to day, but they won't list him as out or questionable as anything because they want to keep it quiet. They don't want anybody to know, or they don't want
right.
more QB questions. You get it. You don't. But it was just frustrating. Like, I guess how quickly he gave up on Mitch. He didn't look
Yeah.
good in that game, and Foles came in and looked awesome and won him the game. But I don't know. I guess the writing was on the wall. I guess that was what was going to happen the whole time if he went to Foles that quickly.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Mitch hasn't technically lost a game yet this year. You guys were 3-0 when they took him out, so
3-0. Mitch is 3-0 as a starter. People forget. People forget
yeah.
that, Sam.
And he's been on the team for quite some time now. I mean, despite
Right.
your offense not being the best, like, I feel like Nick Foles just got here this year. He's obviously a little bit more inept to knowing what's going on in the offense and things like that. So maybe Mitch is your best bet.
It was an overreaction, and it was him Matt Nagy benching Mitch was a way for him to kind of get the heat off of his own ass, kind of for him to be a scapegoat. Like, hey, it's not my plays. It's I don't have my quarterback he can't run the system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy that's worked with you with two different teams can't seem to run it either.
Mm-hmm.
And Nagy has came out earlier in the year and said it takes 2 years to learn the system. Then why the fuck is Foles starting in the first place then?
Yeah, right.
Mitch has been in, this is what, year 3 or year 4?
Yeah.
I get it. And you don't like what you saw from Mitch last year. The second half or that whole third game, he didn't look great. But I don't like giving up on the guy as quickly as they did. And I say that now after being so sold on Foles earlier this year. But if you look at the body of work and you like really assess this team for what it is right now,
Mm-hmm.
Trubisky's got to be the guy back there. You have to have a mobile guy that can run around and give you a chance of making not a miracle happen, but extending those plays where Foles just seems to crumple and fall to the ground.
Yeah, and Foles too. Like, I've talked to my friend Jordan is a diehard Eagles fan. She was on
Sporty Jordy.
Yeah, she was on
I
Big Blue
watched
Avenue
that,
with
yeah.
me. She was telling me, as someone who loves Nick Foles, as someone who won their Super Bowl for them, she's like, he is a good backup quarterback. When the second you put him in a starting position, for some reason he struggles. I mean, we saw that happen last year when he was on the Jaguars, when, they put him in, they're paying him all this money, and then you're like, he doesn't look the same as he did with the Eagles. And I think almost like that lack of responsibility of being a starting quarterback almost like gets to your head, and you're like, I'm just the backup. I'm just going to do what I got to do. And I think that's almost like Nick Foles' mindset, that he's like, I'm the starter now. I got to do this, 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 and this. And he almost struggles only because of the fact that he knows he's the starting quarterback.
I don't know. He's like the perfect closer in baseball.
Yeah.
If we could just have Mitch just come in and start every game and get us to the fourth quarter or halfway through the third, and then you bring Foles in to close it out. Perfect.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He just kind of had that chip on his shoulder from that whole Eagles run where, he came in and then even Eagles fans weren't like sold on him. We want Carson Wentz.
Sure.
I need to talk to Jordy about this whole Carson Wentz situation because he just looks like he's never played football before. I don't know if that's a him problem or a Doug Peterson problem.
Yeah.
But I definitely need to get her opinion on that for sure. But going back to Foles, man, it's just like a conundrum, right? Because if we look at this offseason and the quarterbacks that the Bears could have gotten, Teddy Bridgewater, Cam Newton, Jameis Winston.
Right.
The list goes on. You could have Blake Bortles. I'll throw him in there. Other guys like that. I would have taken any of them over Nick Foles. I'm sorry. And I think that has to do with, Foles obviously having that relationship with Matt Nagy. But I think if they gave a pitch to Cam or they gave a pitch to Teddy, it's like, hey, Mitch is our guy to start the year, and you're going to have to win the job pretty much. And I think guys like Teddy and Cam were kind of like, well, I've put my time in. I want to be a starting quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly true, but I could see that kind of playing out that way. Like, and you already said Foles has been a career backup. So him backing somebody up was probably like, I'm still getting the majority of the money I just got from signing that massive contract in Jacksonville. Yeah, I'm cool. Give me the clipboard. Like,
why not?
The move was ridiculed at the beginning of the year. I was kind of neutral. I'm like, let's see what he's got. This is Super Bowl MVP. You don't want to write him off like immediately. but he wasn't great in Jacksonville. Obviously, he does get hurt, misses the rest of the year, inter Minshew mania. But it's just things are not right in Chicago right now, Sam. It's just
real bad.
We don't have our quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
Target one of these young guys in the draft, build an offensive line to protect him, get another weapon for him to throw to. Well, really, just extend Allen Robinson if he even wants anything to do with this organization anymore, because they just don't target him in the red zone either, which is insane. If he's like a legit number one, he has like the least amount of drops in the league currently, I believe. So it's just not right in Chicago right now.
Yeah, no, I don't even know how you guys are like living right now. I mean, but you guys are what, 5-5?
5-5. So it could be a lot worse, but you're talking about a team that started 5-1, and you were in sole possession of first place in this division at one point. Not that I ever thought we were going to win the division. Actually, going into the year, I'm like, man, 9-7, 10-6, I'll be ecstatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you start 5-1, that's when you get your head pumped up as a fan, and you're like, okay, maybe we have something here. Now at 5-5, I'm like, fuck, is this season over? Like, should we just lose out and get the best draft pick possible? But you're looking at 5 wins already. Like, there's already the Texans have 2, the Cowboys have 3, the Jets are 0-9, Jacksonville's 1-9.
0-10 now.
Or 0-10. Jacksonville's 1-9. So there's already so many teams that are going to be ahead of you. Your draft position is not even really going to matter in the first round.
Yeah. Well, speaking of injuries and things like that, let's talk about Joe Burrow, because this whole situation, first of all, CBS didn't even show the replay of that whole injury because it was so bad. And eventually I did see the slowed down close up.
Oh God.
His knee pops out and pops back in the same whole thing before he even falls to the ground. So Joe Burrow has torn his ACL and has probably done a whole lot more stuff. He's officially out for the year, which is just so god-awful for the Bengals. I know the Bengals, like, they weren't winning per se, but Joe Burrow, in my book, was winning. He was doing so good this year. And, I mean, you said that you wanted to mention about a bunch of things with the Bengals and betting and things like that. So what were your thoughts during this?
Okay, I took Bengals money line.
Yeah.
Had a profit boost going into the game, so it would have been a little bit extra juice. So that was my largest bet of the day was on the Bengals. Laugh at me now for fucking even doing that to myself. I will point out that 2 of my buddies also took the Bengals, and we were kind of in it together. So that kind of gave me a little bit more confidence. But I'm like, okay, it's the football team. Washington, they're not that great. Joe Burrow, he needed one more game to go have 300. Would be the first player in NFL history to have 6 out of his first 10 games go over 300 yards.
Yeah.
This was the third quarter when he got hurt. He was already at 203. You could make the argument that this would have been the game. You talked about how gruesome the injury was. I was watching Red Zone all day.
Yeah.
So switching back and forth. And they show it at first. He goes down, and instantly you're like, he's fucked. And then they go back and show the replay a little bit later, and Scott Hansen's like, okay, guys, you can turn it off now. Like, they kind of froze on it, and he's like, all right, that's enough. But it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's 3rd and 2. He's on like his own 5. He gets sandwiched between 2 defenders. And it was like, not the Kevin Ware Louisville gross injury from way back in the NCAA tournament, but it was one of those where you watch, you just said it, you watch the knee pop out and it's just fucking in another direction, and he's laying on the ground grabbing his leg, and you're just like, not Joe.
I know.
Not Burrow. Just because, number 1 overall pick, we all saw what he did at LSU last year. The best college quarterback season of all time.
Right.
I don't want to argue about it. Mm-hmm. Cam Newton's season at Auburn is up there as well. You can point to some things Tim Tebow did or other guys. Joe Burrow, numbers-wise, yes, best college football season of all time last year. So much promise for this year. Like I said, he was breaking records. No matter what the Cincinnati's record this year was, this was kind of a wash anyways. When you have the number 1 overall pick, you're not expecting to be a good football team. But when you have a guy that like Joe Burrow that seems by all accounts to be a generational talent, he will be a superstar in this league, and somebody who was doing so well, just go out with an injury like that, and like how quickly you knew it was like, oh, his season's done. He tweets out, "See you next year," and that's when you're just like, fuck. You mentioned torn ACL, torn MCL, multiple other structural damage in his knee, and then he's seen at the Bengals facility the next day in good spirits, like, "Hey, I'm good. We're ready for next year." Like, mentally, what you have to go, like, what you have to, how tough you have to be to go through that, I will never know what that's like. But it honestly, it ruined my whole Sunday. I'm like, okay, I'm not winning this bet. I had them in a parlay as well. And I'm just like,
oh no,
well, I just love Joe. I just love Burrow that much. So even if I hadn't bet on them, I would have been like, dude, what the fuck? Like, because that's just such a narrative in this league is, young quarterbacks, the future. Like, what are we going to see? And I believe Joe Burrow is going to win championships in the NFL. And it's just not a good start. But yeah, it's definitely a Sunday ruiner. My mood was not great after that for sure. I'm not a Bengals fan at all. It's just like,
no, I have not met someone yet who dislikes Joe Burrow. Like, everybody in the world loves Joe Burrow.
How do you hate a guy that
there's nothing to hate about him, that
transfers out of one of the top programs in the nation and brings back another one, bets on himself? Absolutely. So hard to hate.
Yeah. And I'm like, I was so sad. And the person that I always talk to on Sunday is Jordan. So I texted Jordan and I was like, what that did not just happen. And she was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? I wasn't paying attention. What happened? And I was like, Joe Burrow went down. And she was like, no. And we both were like, and my brother too, was driving home from a trip and he texted me and he was just like, oh no. And I was like, and my brother's a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
My brother, he should
so that's even more weight. They hate each other.
Yeah. And he literally was like, that sucks. And I was like, I can't even imagine. You could tell he was in so much pain. And even Chase Young came over to him. They used to be teammates back when they were at OSU together. Yeah.
Chase Young, Dwayne Haskins, Terry McLaurin all played with him at OSU. They all come up to him and shake his hand and be like,
was like,
they were only teammates for 8 months too. They're like, at the end of the day, he's an Ohio guy. He's still an Ohio State guy. That doesn't matter what uniform he has on now. Like, that's my guy. And you don't want anybody to get hurt. But shout out Chase Young though. He's going to be a fucking dog in this league. The Washington football team has the number one pass rush in the league right now. You look at their line, it's like 4 or 5 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
So good for Washington for finally kind of figuring that part out. Let's see if they can figure out the rest of the football team.
Yeah, I think that they definitely need to work on their quarterback situation.
Well, when you have a guy like Alex Smith, Sam, it's world beater. Talk about a leg injury. You could talk about Alex Smith.
God. I mean, I'm so, like, literally, I say it, like, every Sunday. I'm like, I'm so proud of him for, like, actually making it back to this point because...
just taking a snap. Just being in the game at all.
Yeah, like, this man was supposed to almost, like, die. He was supposed to walk around with one leg. Like, how is he playing football right now? And when he first came into that game where they put him in, they like panned to his wife and kids, and she was sitting there like stressed out. I was stressed out. I was like, oh my God, Aaron Donald is standing on his back basically because they were playing the Rams. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna get hurt again. Everything's gonna collapse. It was ridiculous. But yeah, the Washington football team. First of all, they're even thinking about keeping the name football team. Like,
I think they're going to be the football team next year. I think that's going to be another year of the Washington football team, which is just like, pick a name.
They were like, football team is a top contender for our name. And I was like, oh, you know what? If you feel that way.
They're not candy ass. They're just a football team. They don't need a name.
Again, NFC East. NFC least.
Least. That's what I like to call them.
Yeah.
But you guys are the only division in the NFL with every team has won a Super Bowl, so I'll give you that. But as of late, not great.
No, not good. And another thing that I did want to mention on, and I think when I had said to you like what we were going to talk about today, that Tua was taken out of the game for the Dolphins. I just found out today that was not injury related, and that he in fact was benched for Fitzpatrick. But he is still the starter. I don't know what's going on, but I genuinely thought Tua got hurt, and I was like, oh God, like that's not good. And they put Fitzpatrick in, and I genuinely thought that they took him out because he was hurt. But
So
apparently not the
yeah,
case.
that's what I thought too. Because when I was watching that, they showed it on Red Zone. He did kind of get like tangled up under one of the
Yeah.
Broncos defensive linemen. You saw his leg kind of buckle a little bit, and you're like, okay, he's hurt. That's not great.
Mhm.
But then Flores comes out and says, "No, Tua wasn't hurt. We thought that Ryan Fitzpatrick gave us the best chance to win."
Yeah.
Which
Really
then
weird.
then why is Tua in the game? Why did Tua replace him? Let me ask you this, Sam. Do
Mhm.
you think if that was the Bengals, they would have taken out Joe Burrow, or if that was the Chargers, they would have taken out Justin Herbert?
No. No. Not at
Does
all.
that not fuck with Tua's confidence the rest of the year? Like, what if it's like a third and long or a third and 5, and he's going to be thinking in his head, is he afraid to be aggressive, afraid to take a shot downfield because he doesn't want to get benched?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know. And then he says, but Tua is still our starter. Like, but imagine if Fitzmagic completes that drive, completes the comeback, doesn't throw an interception. What does that do?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I just thought this whole situation, like from the beginning, wasn't handled well. Fitzpatrick, they were 3-3, but the Dolphins weren't
Yeah.
expecting to even be there. I think you look at this team as they're kind of, I don't want to say surprised at how good they are this quickly, but they're another team that had a top 5 pick. They got their quarterback. They tanked for their quarterback, and I don't think they were expecting to be in contention for this division
No, not at
this
all.
season. I don't think they were expecting
No.
to be this good this year.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, well, oh shit, now we're losing to Denver.
Yeah.
What can we do here? I think this is a case of Flores, and who I think is a very good head coach.
Yes, I agree.
I think this is just an overthinking it. But this has potential to mess up that locker room, I believe. I don't really like this move at all. You point to what Tua had done that game, not great. I think he had just over like 100 yards, so he wasn't moving the offense at all. I get it, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel like that's
Yeah.
they're on a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah.
But
And
you have to point to what the defense did a lot of the times as well. I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, their defense is like the best defense in the league. Like, it is so good.
It's
and
getting up there. There's an argument you could make. Like,
yeah,
but,
in my opinion, I think that they're one of the best defenses in the league. And when Tua got his first win as a starter, he even straight up said, he was like, no, this was not won by me. This was won by our defense. So, and also when they benched Fitzpatrick for Tua, that whole thing I don't think was handled well either, because Fitzpatrick came out and was like, I thought this was my team. I thought that I was leading this team. I thought we were doing well. Like, he seemed very surprised. He didn't seem like he was going to expect it at all. I understood why, because they're like, Fitz isn't the future of this team. It's Tua.
no.
So that makes sense. But this whole situation, like, if you're going to start Tua, then start Tua. But if you're going to start Fitz. Like, I don't understand this, oh, well, he could have won us the game. I'm like, we've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick take many people's jobs in the past. But why would you take him out if you're just going to put him back in? It doesn't make any sense. And like we said, I think Brian Flores is very good at being a head coach. And part of the reason why their defense is so good, because he was defensive coordinator for the Patriots. But I would, in my opinion, I would just stick with one or the other. And at this point, I think you should just stick with Tua, because Tua is the person that you're going to want for longer than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because, Ryan Fitzpatrick jumps all over the place.
Right, obviously. And so, like, earlier this year, they bring in Tua, and it's just like the first time that the Dolphins have been playing like meaningful football, and I can't even tell you how many years. So, like, I get that. You bring in Tua, you want to see what you got with the rookie, but at the same time, Ryan Fitzpatrick, you said it, he finally felt like he was in control of this team. He finally felt like, it's my team. He said, there's been very few years in my career where I have felt like it's my team, where I'm the quarterback. I don't know. I don't know if to attribute this to Miami not being used to being in this position, getting a little bit scared, getting a little bit gun shy. I did say Tua had like over 100 yards. I actually just looked. He had like 83 for the game, which that's abysmal. He did take 6 sacks over the last, over their winning streak. He had only taken 4 throughout the previous 4 games. So maybe that has something to do with it. Flores didn't like what he was seeing, Tua holding the ball too much. But I don't know. I just don't think like going for the rest of the season. Like, I just think that brings up so many questions in your locker room, especially if you still have Tua being your starter next week. Confidence wise for him, does the rest of your team start to question who the guy should be back there? But as a whole, I just don't think it's a very good look. They end up losing, so it doesn't really matter. I think it'd be a lot different conversation if Fitzpatrick completes that pass to Parker in the end zone and it doesn't get intercepted by Justin Simmons.
Right.
But man, you can't like that if you're a Miami fan.
No, not at all. And like you said, like this could have turned out totally different. Like if Fitz did come back and win this game for them, I mean, how do you start Tua after that? And then it's like so confusing, not only for their offense, because like if you're going back and forth. I mean, we also saw this when Fitz was in Tampa Bay and he was going back and forth with Jameis. That offense was so confused. They were like, they're two different quarterbacks. Like, how do you perform? You have to switch off every single time a new guy comes in. It's so confusing. You have to stick with one guy in order for you to start meshing well together. So, yeah, and the locker room thing, too, is also really important. Who's the leader here? You know, is it Fitz? He's the veteran. But is it Tua? He's your guy. He's supposed to be your guy. Right. It's very confusing. And, yeah, like you said, as a Dolphins fan, I would have been, just pick one. It's at this point, just pick one.
I guess we should have seen this coming. Tua's never played at that altitude before. He's never played that high up in the Mile High City, but it's concerning. They still have a legitimate chance to win this division. I guess so that he's starting next week, but it is against the 0-10 Jets. So definitely a game where they're looking for him to bounce back, and hopefully he has a good game and kind of, shuts out the naysayers. But you mentioned like last year in Tampa Bay, how hard it was for that offense to get on the same page. Like, that's all about like what you're practicing in during the week. What you're trying to install is you want those reps. You need to be comfortable. You need to be on the same page as a quarterback and a receiver when it comes to that game situation. And it's 3rd and 6 and you need a first down, or it's 4th and 3 and the game's on the line. So that can definitely, I think, mess with the psyche of not only Tua, but guys like Devontae Parker, guys like Mike Gesicki that are catching balls from him. Yeah. And obviously, the offensive line is going to be better. No quarterback is going to have any success if they're taking 6 sacks in a game. So I think that has something to do with it for sure. But I don't know. I mean, I like Tua as the starter the rest of the year. Does Fitzpatrick try to go somewhere else in the offseason? I wouldn't be surprised. Like the 15th or whatever stop for him. But yeah, it's just very, very confusing from a football standpoint that your backup you benched 3 games ago gives you a better chance to win. Yeah.
And also, like you mentioned before too, in terms of like, does Tua take a shot that maybe he wouldn't take, but now he's like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm going to get benched again. And then that causes maybe an interception or,
or if he's afraid to do it. So he tries to check down instead. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously very early on in this kid's career to be like trying to say anything down the road, but as of right now, you don't feel great about that. I think more so, I read an article before this where Tua was like, more so it just sucks to lose. Like when Coach Flores said Fitz was coming in, all I was thinking about was the team. Well, of course, what else are you going to say? But I will say that they have remained very cordial during this whole process. If they show the sideline a lot, they're always – Fitz and Tua are always talking, always on the tablet looking at shit. And I said it, when Tua got this job, what a perfect guy to have behind you, like Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I said the same thing.
He's been everywhere in this league, but he's never been a star. He's never had that ego built up where he's going to be like, oh, they're trying to replace me with this rookie. He's like, no, you know what? Let me help you. Yeah. But it's just very confusing. I keep saying that. It's just, that's what I keep going back to. But I'm just like, I don't know. As a football team, where do you go from here? Do you just forget about this loss, put it in the back of your mind? I'm sure Fitzpatrick is kind of like, what the fuck himself? Like, if I'm supposed to help you win in the last 2 minutes, like, can I not help you win the rest of the football game? I don't know. I don't know, Sam.
Yeah, no, it's you can as a Bears fan with your quarterback problems, I think you can sympathize
I
with the
can
Dolphins a
relate and
little bit.
sympathize a little bit. I'd take Fitzpatrick on this team right now. I actually
Oh
said
yeah.
to a couple of my buddies before this, hey, I have a buddy that's a Saints fan in one
Mhm.
of these Discord group messages, and like, can we just borrow Jameis for this Sunday Night Football? And then my other buddy responded, and he goes, by borrow, we mean take him for completely free, because we will actually appreciate him and cherish him like you guys don't. I would love Jameis on the Bears. I'd buy a Jameis jersey today
Yeah.
if that happened. But just something more interesting, somebody that can throw the
Yeah.
ball around the field a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, this year is just, this whole season is just completely off the rails, so crazy, between COVID and who didn't, play preseason and who's hurt, and literally so many people have torn their ACLs this year. It's insane.
That's exactly what I was about to say. That's what I was thinking. Like, there's like a list of like 10 guys that they're not just 10 run-of-the-mill guys. There are 10 superstars in this league right now that are out with an ACL tear. I don't know. Do you attribute that to the less training in the offseason, the preseason? You don't get preseason games. The camps are shortened. They're doing a lot of shit over Zoom these days. I don't know. Maybe guys aren't as fit as they are, but very weird NFL season for sure. I'm still going to be on my couch every Sunday watching it, though. So
absolutely. Is there any other games that you want to mention before we wrap this up?
That Chiefs-Raiders game, if we could talk about that real quick on Sunday Night Football, was pretty awesome. This is the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career that he has thrown for a game-winning touchdown with less than 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
Can you talk about how insane that is? Like, the Chiefs are never in that situation. Shout out to the Raiders, my good buddy Trey Smith, huge Raiders fan. Raid Trey. They don't get the win, but they covered the spread. That's all that matters. Great teams cover. Brew picked the Raiders last night. But, I got to say, I'm impressed with Derek Carr. He's taken a step this year. Yeah. He has legit weapons to throw to in Ruggs, Aguilar. Jordy probably has a lot of things to say about Nelson Aguilar.
She hates that.
Of course. But of course that he's so good now in Oakland. And Darren Waller. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Insane.
Second in the league as far as tight ends go by yards, only behind Travis Kelce, who we also saw last night.
Right.
But there's a lot to like in Las Vegas right now. Who knew? John Gruden. He's probably not worth the $100 million. But also, I do want to mention they had that 4th and goal from like the Kansas City 1.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of woke on this. He definitely got that penalty on purpose to back him up so they could kick the field goal, so people wouldn't give him shit about kicking a field goal from the 1-yard line against the Kansas City defense. He did it on purpose.
That's good.
All the NFL teams are going to analytics. Who knew? You just need John Gruden's brain.
I really like John Gruden.
He's fun to watch. It sucks. They said it on the Sunday Night broadcast. It's what you want to see is his face, his facial reactions. You can't see it with the mask. And it's like, well, we did a few weeks earlier and he got $100,000 fine. So, I don't know if you had any thoughts on that game. I was impressed by Derek Carr, and I think the Raiders are like a sneaky good team.
Yeah.
Like we saw with Tennessee last year. Look out for the Raiders. I think they can win a couple playoff games.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, when I was watching this game, every single time I would, get up and come back, the score would be different. And it would be, within a margin of points. Like, they were close the entire game. And it was super entertaining to watch. We love – I feel like Patrick Mahomes is another one of these guys that everybody kind of roots for. Like, it's like, how do you hate Patrick Mahomes? But so, the Chiefs – reigning Super Bowl champs, you're expecting a lot from them. To be honest, obviously they're still they're 9-1. So the Raiders were the ones that gave them that loss this year. Mm-hmm. I really was, and it's a divisional game. So you're like, this is some really good stuff, and it's in the new Raiders stadium. Despite their
the Roomba.
The what?
The Roomba. The little the robot vacuum.
The Roomba?
No, I just say that's what it looks like. It's it's Allegiant Stadium, but it looks
Yeah.
exact like Google a
Oh
picture
my
of
God, I didn't even
Google a picture of a Roomba vacuum after this, and then Google Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same.
I'm picturing Allegiant Stadium in my head because they showed like a drone view last night, and I'm like, oh my God. It does look like a Roomba.
Yeah, throw the records out when you go into the dreaded Roomba, the Raiders Stadium. Oh shit!
I love it.
That's funny.
I love that so
funny.
much. That is hilarious.
That's very funny.
Oh my God! Wow, I'm taking that. Now they go to Roomba Stadium.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I said, very close game the entire time. I mean, it was a very good game. And I saw a tweet, I forgot who it was from, but they basically were like, when you've been watching football for 10 hours and football is still good, and you're just like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, you've been locked in since 1 p.m. and you're like, usually Sunday night, you like start turning it down. But this game just kept going and going. And yeah, I didn't even know that's what you said earlier about Patrick Mahomes.
I saw it on ESPN today, and I didn't realize that either. So I believe that Oakland scored the go-ahead touchdown with 1 minute and 46 seconds left. And right there, you're like, that's too much time. Patrick Mahomes has, I don't know if they had 2 or 3 timeouts, but 1 minute and 46. But yeah, I didn't realize that either. Obviously, he throws the touchdown. They get the win. I think an interception to seal it at the end of the game. But yeah, crazy stat. I like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Make the Super Bowl this year. I mean, obviously you pointed the Steelers, but hopefully we get a Chiefs-Steelers playoff game. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah.
That would be so good. To be honest, despite the Steelers being 10-0 now, and like I said, I've been locked into the Steelers all year. My brother's diehard Steelers fan, like would take a bullet for anybody on that team. He loves them, and he's been on top of the world this season, but I don't know if, like, every once in a while they do something shaky and you're like, whoa. Yeah. And then they come out and they win the game. But like when they were versing the Ravens, it was very close, and they're playing the Ravens this week on Thanksgiving. So the thing is that the Ravens did lose this week. So that's good for them in terms of, the division. But I don't know if they're going to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. A Chiefs-Steelers AFC Championship game, though, sign me up. Sign me up.
Chef's kiss.
Really?
Yeah, isn't it interesting, though, in the AFC North that the Cleveland Browns are 7-3 and in second place, and the Baltimore Ravens are 6-4? But Cleveland's, I think, have the minus 23 point differential this year, and they're 7-3, and the Ravens have like a plus 74 or like plus 75 point differential, and they're 6-4.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. I mean, this Thanksgiving game is going to be great. I think that's awesome for a nightcap. I like the Steelers though in that game.
Oh, me too.
I don't know. As soon as I say that, the Ravens will probably win because I'm just the ultimate jinx. But it's been impressive what Big Ben has been able to do. But if you look at the Steelers, this is a defensive team. Like Minkah Fitzpatrick, TJ.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just the amount of guys they have on that defense have been able to force turnovers and just really wreak havoc on opposing offenses. Because let's not act like Pittsburgh's offense has been great. They've been serviceable. Big Ben hasn't. You wouldn't say he's in the league MVP conversation right now, but he's done what he's had to do, what they didn't have last year in Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges. This is just a serviceable quarterback that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Duck. I was a Duck Hodges fan.
I liked Duck. I hate Mason Rudolph.
Fuck Mason Rudolph, dude. Oh my God, that fucking.
I hate him. I do not like him. And I genuinely think that he egged on Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett did.
Oh, that's such bullshit. If you think that he didn't say anything, if you think Myles Garrett, an NFL player, would just take his helmet off and swing it, there was no provocation or anything said at all, you're fucking delusional.
Yeah, no. I genuinely think that Mason Rudolph said some choice words there.
I probably did. He can deny it all he wants, but I mean that's all hearsay now.
Yeah, and obviously what Myles Garrett did was like not okay. You can't
assault.
Yes.
as Adam Schefter would say, assault.
Assault. I remember when he just tweeted that out, and everybody was like, "Okay, sir."
That was like a top top 5 day on Twitter.
Yeah.
Not only
so
because I remember watching that game and like literally like getting up out of my chair being like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like looking at my buddies I'm watching with, are you watching this? Like you don't ever see that. And it's like, oh my God, Garrett's taking off his helmet.
Yeah.
Like, shit. And then just immediately assault. Like I'm a big fan of Pardon My Take. And they were just right on that from the start. It was so great.
It's so funny.
They actually interviewed Adam Schefter like a couple months after that. All they kept saying the whole interview was just assault. They're just asking him like, "Would you call this assault?" It was funny.
I like Pardon My Take too. That sounds like something they would absolutely do.
They're the best. They're absolutely the best. They're like the first podcast that I found that's like, oh my God. Like, I get it. Like this is what I want to do. Like I obviously with my podcast, I'm not trying to copy them or whatever, but like that whole satirical where you're able to make people laugh and like have a good time, but you actually kind of know what the fuck you're talking about. And it's just like the amount of times that like I'll be listening to that and like PFT will say something and I'll just like did he actually just fucking say that and just like losing my mind or like Big Cat, I agree with almost everything he says. That show also chef's kiss. Perfect. The best thing that's ever happened to me. Obviously, besides my son being born.
I agree. Pardon My Take was one of the first Barstool podcasts I ever listened to, and I was like hooked from then on.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually what I have on right now.
Oh yeah.
My Pardon My Take.
Oh nice.
My football guy shirt. So
yeah,
doing it big, representing the guys.
I'm big into Barstool too. I'm on board with you.
Mm-hmm.
But Andy, I thank you so much. This was so much fun. I had a great time talking football with you.
Absolutely, anytime. I'd love to.
Yeah, you can let the people know where they can find you again.
Yeah, let me get into this plug real quick. I'll try not to ramble as much as I did at the beginning of the show and keep it more all set up here. But yeah, the Brew Party podcast. So Andy Hopper, I'm the host. Every Wednesday and Friday. So actually this Wednesday, the one and only Sam Cardona, the girl who talks sports, will be joining me on the Brew Party. We're going to be live streaming that on Wednesday night. I don't have the time completely ironed out yet. We'll get that figured out here in just a second. But yeah, follow us on social media at the Brew Party Podcast on Facebook. We just hit 350 follows and like 320 likes.
Nice.
Doesn't seem like a lot to everybody, but
no, that's a lot.
To me, it's awesome. Like, I mean, I'm just a regular dude. Like I said, I'm a bartender. I decided to do a podcast when I was drunk, and I ordered my stuff off Amazon. And now here we are 8 months later. I've talked to people I can't believe. Olympic gold medalist Ryan Held. He swam with Michael Phelps, the 2016 Rio Olympics. Told me an absolutely incredible story about the Ready Room. They're waiting to go on for the 4x100 meter relay. And Phelps is like, yeah, it's just a race, dude. We're cool. So like, yeah, oh yeah, I'm about to go win my 1,000,000th gold medal, but here we go. So that's like, I've talked to him. Like I said, Bobby Roundtree, like Jordan Caroline played in the NCAA tournament with Nevada. Went to high school with me. Was a undrafted free agent with the Lakers last season. Played over in Israel as well. But yeah, we just interview athletes. We interview other podcasters. Like I said, I met Sam through Tom Skveta. One of my favorite people on the internet. Go check out Review and Preview for sure. But yeah, as far as the Brew Party goes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all that good stuff. Or just www.thebrewparty.com has all of our episodes, all of our social media links, Facebook at the Brew Party Podcast, Twitter at the Brew Party, on Instagram as well at the Brew Party, and then YouTube. Sam, I want to thank you again for having me. This was an incredible time. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I hope I didn't make this go too long. I'm super excited to talk to you on Wednesday. I'll have some fun stuff prepared about the Giants and then this Monday night game, and then we'll preview some of those Thanksgiving games as well. But I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. Go follow the Brew Party. Follow the girl who talks sports. I love what you're doing over here.
Thank you.
Your episode with Sporty Jordy was great. Your episode on Big Blue Avenue was awesome. I loved getting your guys' perspective on all that stuff too. So really love what you're doing. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, no problem. And thank you so much for coming on. All right, everyone, we're going to be going back to our regular scheduled podcast programming.